trace the family back in time, tracing your lineage from one generation to the previous generation and exploring the lives of each individual, their family, relations, and the community in which they live. Genealogy tells you who your ancestors are, when and where they were born and died, whom they married, and who their parents were. Genealogy will have you thinking about your family's past and present in an entirely different way. Knowing your genealogy can have real advantages, especially medical. Knowing your genetic history can help you maintain your health and take steps to prevention and early detection. A lot of people think that doing your DNA, and when you see those signs with ancestry, that's genealogy, but that is not. That's genetics, and that just tells you what your composition is. So genealogy is it's a process of doing your research. So the griot, this is a term that is it's an a West African historian, and you see that word a lot. That's the person who's the keeper of all births, deaths, and marriages throughout the generations in the family or in the village. And each family has one. One is called to find the ancestors. So this is my father. He was the great storyteller, and he told stories. I don't want to tell my age, but we didn't have many television stations back when I was a kid, and we would sit around and my father would tell us stories of the family. So that piqued my interest. So the griot, the baton has been passed, and my father passed the baton to me, and I stand on his strong shoulders. And this is the work that I am passionate about. So today we're going to look at, and we're going to go into next week as well, but 5 simple steps to start finding your roots. So we're going to identify what you already know about your family. You have your family tree chart and your family group record. So we're going to look at that. We're going to work on it together. We're going to recall and record information about your family. We're going to fill in the names and information about your parents, your grandparents, etc. I'm going to talk about using a computer to record and store your family history. And we're going to gather the information with your family, personal and family history notes. So after today, you're going to go speak to some of your family members, and you're going to start gathering this information that I'm going to share with you to help you build your history. So tracing African American and Caribbean ancestors is very, very difficult. As you know, our information is very fragmented because, of course, during slavery we were forbidden to read and write, and so we weren't recorded until 1870s. That's when they began doing census records. So it's not easy. As we know, there was like 90% of African Americans were enslaved at the time of the Civil War, and 10% were free people of color. And in the Caribbean, I'm going to give you the statistics shortly. When their slavery ended, I believe it was 1833, and what they went into an apprentice. So I'm going to show you cohabitating records and how you can use that to trace back in time. But I must stress to you that doing this work is most important to research offline. We do a lot online, but putting your boots on the ground, going to the towns that your family comes from to do the actual work is very rewarding. It's very spiritual, and it's driven. I believe that our ancestors drive us to uncover them and to find this and tell their stories. So this is the ancestral chart that you all have, and I want you to take that chart out now, and I'm going to walk you through it so that we can begin the process of tracing your family roots. Now, I think maybe your chart does not have the numbers, but I'm going to point to them. So number 1 would be you. I want you to put your name on this line as number 1. And where it says born, I want you to put your birth date. Preferably, I prefer you to work with a pencil because sometimes you're not sure of the dates and times. So it's better to use a pencil. But this is a worksheet. I use this sheet to actually work it out when I'm starting, even if I'm assisting someone do their genealogy. I use this sheet to start to document what I know. So if you're married, put your married date and the place that you got married. And of course, you're here, so this does not apply to you. So where it says spouse, you're going to put your spouse. If you have more than one spouse, then you're going to use a different page for that spouse if you have children by that person. So let's say, for example, if I was married to my first husband and I have children, then those children are going to have that father's lineage and my lineage. If you have another child that by a second husband, then you're going to need another chart for that child because he will have different ancestors. So number one is you. Number two is on the upper line. You're going to put your father's name there. And where it says born, you're going to put your father's date of birth. Place is where he was born. And married, you're going to put the date of their marriage, of your parents' marriage, and the place that they got married. If they're not married, then put the place that they met. And hopefully they're living. But for me, my mom passed, my father passed 20 years ago. So I would put down the date he died, the place he died, and I would put in here where he was buried, because many people die in a location. They may have a funeral in a location, but they sometimes, or I know for many Southern families, they send the bodies back home to be buried in the family plot or with the family in the town in which they came from. So I'm going to stay on the top here. So I'm going to move from 2 to go to 4. And that would be your father's father. That would be your grandfather. So this is you on number 1, your father on number 2, and number 4 here is going to be your grandfather, your father's father. So put your father's name, your grandfather's name on the 4, his date of birth, the place he was born, the marriage date, where if he's deceased, going to put the date he passed, the place he passed, and again, the burial place I would put under. Now, your father's mother would be going here where number 5 is. So she's going to be below your grandfather, and you're going to put your grandmother's name, you're going to use her maiden name. So whenever we talk about the women and we document them with their maiden name. So number 5, you're going to put your grandmother on your father's side, your paternal grandmother, and you're going to put her maiden name. So your grandfather here, number 4, you're going to go to number 8 in the upper corner, and you're going to put your grandfather's father, and that would be your great grandfather on your father's side. Sorry. On your father's side. And then number 9 would be your great grandfather's wife, your great grandmother. You're going to put her maiden name there. So let's go back and look at number 4 again. This is your grandfather. So you're going to put the grandfather's wife, your grandmother. Her name goes on number 5. You're going to put her date of birth, the place of birth. She's deceased. So number 5, you look at number 10 here, the upper one, you're going to put your grandmother's father's name. Number 10, your grandmother's father's name. and that would be your great-grandfather. Is everybody with me? Am I going too fast? I just need a thumbs up or down so I can tell. Am I going too fast or I should slow down? Okay. All right, number 5, we read the grandmother. You're going to look at 11. You're going to put your great-grandmother's name here. Remember, we're going to use her maiden name. Okay, we're going to go back over to you again on number 1. And we're going to go down to number 3 right here. You're going to put your mother's name here. Your mother's maiden name goes here in 3. And then when we go up to number 6 here, you're going to put your mother's father's name. Your grandfather here, number 6. You're going to put his birth date, where he was born, the marriage date, and the place that they got married. We're speaking about your mother's father, your grandfather. And now number 7 is your grandmother, your mother's mother. You're going to put her maiden name here. Her birth date, the place that she was born. Hopefully she's still living because you can ask questions. And then we're going to go back up here to number 6. We talked about your mother's father and that would be your grandfather. And now your grandfather's father is here at number 12. You're going to put your great-grandfather's name on your maternal side, on your mother's side is number 12. And then below him, number 13, is your great-grandmother. So your grandfather's wife, your great-grandfather's wife, your great-grandmother, number 13. This is on the paternal side, your mother's father's side. And then we go down to number 7. This is your maternal mother's mother. So your mother, this is you, number 1. Your mother's number 3. Your grandmother is number 7. Your mother's mother, number 7, using her maiden name. And then you're going to go up to 14 here, and you're going to put in her father's name. So this will be your great-grandfather on your mother's side of the family. And the last one, 15, is going to be your mother's mother's mother. Your great-grandmother is number 15. Now, hopefully, most of you have gotten back to your great-grandparents, and I'm sure you've gotten to your grandparents, but if you have not, I'm going to help you and show you how to get back there. And we all need to know that. We all need to know it off the top of our heads because we're standing on their shoulders. All right, we're going to move on to the family group record. So if you know that when you just did your ancestral chart, there was no room there for siblings. So you probably have siblings yourself. So if you have siblings, and even if you don't, you're going to use this family group record. You're going to need multiple copies of this family group record because let's just say, for example, this is your father. You put your father's name here where it says husband. And It says occupation, you're going to put his occupation in there. I'm going to say the same thing, where he was born, his birth date. Some people have christening records or baptism records, then you're going to put the christening in this box. The marriage. Again, this one is good because it has died, it has burial, and it has cemetery place. So this is important because we want to always know where the final resting place is. And the date of a will, when it was written, the cause of death in this area over here. That's for the father or the husband. And then under there, under his data, it has his father. You're going to put his father's name and his mother's name, and if they are other wives or other husband or other wives, because he doesn't have a husband. And then the next category would be the wife. Again, using the maiden name, you put an occupation there, and it has a slot here for religion. That's always important to know, what denomination. You're going to put when she was born, the christening information again, where she was buried, the same as what you're going to do for the father. And then you're going to put her father and her mother. Now this part for the children, because again, when you filled out your form, the prior form, it had one slot there for you to put your name. Now it's your opportunity to put your siblings. You're going to start with the oldest sibling. You're going to put them as number one, and you're going to list them down in the year of their birth. And you're going to put their date of birth, where they were born, same thing, and where they got married, and the city, and so forth. Then you're going to go to your next sibling, and you're going to put them down. Now, the reason why I said you're going to make more than one copy of this is because, say your mother and father, or say your mother has brothers and sisters who are your aunts and uncles, but you don't have anywhere to put that on that first chart that I gave you, and that's why this family group record is very important. So we're talking about your parents now, that you would fill this in, but what about now you are married and you have children? Then you would do the same thing for yourself. You would put your husband's name, you put your name, and you would list your children in the order of their births. So suppose your sibling has your sister or your brother. I mean, they're a part of your family. You want to put them down, and they're going to record their children, because I'm from a family of 8, and I have, oh my God, so many nieces and nephews, and so I can keep up with them. So this sheet helps me to document them. And if you choose to be the griot for your family, that you want to be the keeper of the flame, and you want to document, because someone in the family has to be that person. So if you're going to be that person, then you would collect all this data, because it would be important that it's one place. And years ago people had Bibles, and they put all the information in the Bible. So this family group record, I'm suggesting that when you have a family reunion, if you have a Christmas gathering or a Thanksgiving gathering, and all the family comes together, give out these sheets and start them filling them out. So this is I didn't want you all to see my year of birth, because it really is none of your business, but it's there. I didn't get a chance to take it off. But this is the standard pedigree tree, like I just gave you in the beginning, to start doing your family history. So this is my father, it's my mother, and as I showed you, my grandfather, my grandmother, her father and mother, and so forth and so on. Well, I have done so much research that I have to continue mine on page 2, page 3, page 4. And should you be able to go back further, you will be able to have page 8. I'm able to go back to page 8. So I'm hoping that you're going to use the software. I'm going to give you that information, which software to use, so that you can start to document your family history. And we're going to get to that. I'm going to tell you, whether you're going to use Ancestry, Family Search, or use your own software to keep a record of your family. So I put this map of the United States because, you know, when we first, my Google is talking back to me. So when we put up your map, because when the 13 colonies, when this country began, you know, we were all along the eastern seaboard, and um, we started to move westward. So you're doing research, African Americans, you're doing research in all of these states as your family migrated, whether they were in the South or whether they were in the North, how they migrated across the country. So I put the map up because, you know, it's very similar as we are African Americans and Caribbean Americans. Our family comes from all these different points, as is the Caribbean. The people settle in all different parts of the Caribbean, and they cherish where they come from, and they take you know, pride in where they come from. And so we all do, because we all are the same people. We really are the same people. So then I put up the Caribbean, all the different islands that our people come from, and where we need to research, where the information is. And I'm going to give you resource um, sites to go to help you do your research in those areas. As you begin to do your research, and you'll find that you need to go back to where your roots are. So the slavery, we all know about the slavery in the United States because we talk about it all the time. So I just pulled up the slavery in the British Caribbean, and that, you know, in 1804, the successful slave rebellion on Saint Dominique led to the establishment of Haiti. And so I, I just want to give a timeline of what was going on. In the first, Haiti was the first Black republic in the world that gained their freedom. And in 1807, after several attempts in the late 18th century, a bill to legalize and abolish the transatlantic slave trade was finally passed by the House of Commons. In 1833, the 1st of August, the British Parliament passed the abolition of slavery and abolished slavery in all British colonies. And in 1834, William Wilberforce dies and Mary Prince died. And in 1838, the proto-freedom Black pigeoning, or soft slavery. Some call it the second slavery, because although slavery as an institution was ended, but Black laborers were forced into a period of so-called apprenticeship. So they worked for former slaveholders for a very low wage until 1838. So 1833, slavery abolished, and I just thought this was a fabulous print of that depicts this time period. The British West Indies was colonized British territory in the West Indies, and these are all of the islands that are under that rule. British colonization and Americans' persistence in Trinidad. So, you know, we talk about that we're different, but we're not really different, because you know that in the American Revolutionary War, the British fought against the Americans, and Americans won, and then the Loyalists were forced out of the United States. So they went to Canada. A lot of the Blacks who fought and they fought to gain their freedom. So they fought and they went into Nova Scotia. Africaville is up there, and other parts of Canada, and they went to the British West Indies. So many people who went to Trinidad, Barbados, Aruba, all of these towns, they left family in America. So you could find that there was a close connection between South Carolina and the Caribbean, mainly Barbados, Aruba, and several other countries that had the same people. They were family. So some people do DNA and they realize, Caribbean people realize that they have connections in South Carolina and they cannot understand it. And that is because they are the same families, the same people. They left the Americas, went to the Caribbean under the Loyalists or with the Loyalists, and they went to the Caribbean. But they still have family that was left in South Carolina. South Carolina was known for rice, and they had slaveholders who had property or plantations in South Carolina, and they had the same plantations in Barbados, and they would go back and forth. Same people. We're the same people that are going back and forth. And most of us have the same mix, whether it be Native American or the Caribbean natives, and whether it be British or the Spanish, or here in America, it's the Scottish, the Irish, it's the same mix that we have, because a lot of us have been uh, mixed. So here we are with the Caribbean Genealogy Library in St. Thomas. Um, I encourage you to take this down. You want to reach out to them because they have a lot of literature. I mean, as Caribbean people, there are a lot of records there in the Caribbean. So, they have records here in St. Thomas. They have great records in Jamaica. There was, you research these records, but prior to 1850, maybe it's on the next slide, you can go to the parishes, because the parishes has the information. So I pulled this up from ancestry.com. So you can go in. They have Jamaica civil registration, birth, marriage, and deaths from 1878 to 1995. And then here, as I just mentioned about the parish, they are the transcripts are there from 1664 to 1879. So these are resources that you can use that's going to help you do your research. And of course, to the African Americans, Ancestry.com, they have great records and for all the states. And you have other records like Fold 3 that lets you look at the military records. So Ancestry.com is a great resource. Again, when you do your DNA is different from doing genealogy research. The DNA tells you what your composition is, what your chromosomes are, what your centimorgans are, and you can get your DNA matches with people that you may not know that you match with. So they have great tools there to help you with that. And so does Family Search. That's another online. I'm going to talk about that later, but I just wanted to show you your references. And of course, I'm speaking about Caribbean. I'm talking about Jamaica, but we have all the United States in Ancestry and also in Family Search. Those are the two that I really use. And I use Family Search primarily because it's free. So, sorry. Okay, so Family Search that I just spoke about, I started my genealogy, as I said, Alex Haley, he really inspired me. And that's when I started talking to my ancestors, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents. And so I got a good start on it. But I mean, I'm still working on it because you just never finish. You're still trying to get back. But this is my tree. This tree was generated when I went to Roots Tech out in Utah, and it was free. Family Search is completely free. You can go online, you can set yourself up with your account with them, and you're able to start doing your research. I happened to be in Utah just before COVID shut down. That was March 2020. It was a fabulous experience. They had over 25,000 people came. It is the largest genealogy conference in the world. But since COVID, the big advantage about COVID is now it's free. You can go to it online. I'm going to give you the information because I'm going to encourage you to go. But I just want to show you my chart, how I started from me. This is my parents. These are my grandparents. These are my great-grandparents. So as you see, you have two parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, you know, and it just goes on and on. So I'm back here to the 9th generation. This is on my grandmother's side. This is a side that I'm a daughter of the American Revolution, that I'm able to get back to 1700s, some of them 1600s. And this is another on my father, on my grandfather's side, on my maternal side. This is all my maternal side on this side. And this color coding, we're going to talk about that in the next session about how to color code your research. And my father's side, there are the Hunts here, and then the Edmondsons are here. You see, I'm able to go back here. I'm really stuck with the Hunts. I haven't really been able to get back too far with them, but you know, it's a work in progress. When you find that you start doing your genealogy research, you'll start on your mother. Say you start on your mother's side, and you're gonna get stuck here. I'm stuck right here, so I can't go any. So then I move to the next line and start working on this branch of the tree. If I get stuck here, then I go to this branch. I keep on moving so that I'm constantly working on something, and things open up and you find more information. So early on, before 1870, you know, they didn't begin documenting people of color or slaves or free blacks even. They didn't start documenting them until 1870. Census records began in 1870, and as you know, every 10 years they do census records. So this is my family. So prior to 1870, then you had people had Bibles, family Bibles, and now they may be the same for Caribbean. I'm not sure, but you know, someone will have to tell me that. But we recorded our family history in the family Bibles. So this Bible is from my great great grandfather, and he was born in 1834, and his date is here. Um, when you start researching, and when I talk about asking or talking to the oldest living relatives, then there should be a Bible. Somebody in your family should know something about your family history. You just got to find that person, because this is my great grandfather, and he had 8 children. So all these children, it was not, it was, let me see which one on here. Callie, this one down here. This daughter, she was born in 1874. She's the one who had the Bible. So out of all these children, you know, you don't know who has it, but this one, Callie, had the Bible. So somebody in your family might have the Bible. So I just wanted to show you how you begin this process and using information that you already have or you don't realize you have. But here again, how I prove from my oral history or from the family Bible, then I'm able to send for a legal documentation that proves what I have documented. So this is a death record that was in the Bible. So Lizzie Lewis, she died November 28th, 1917. So when I saw that in the Bible, then I sent for her death certificate from the state of Virginia to the National Archives in the state of Virginia, and I was able to get her death certificate. Because from this record, I knew when she died, but I wasn't sure about, I didn't know who her parents were. So I'm going to show you how to read a death certificate. We have a death certificate. It comes in. Now her name was Liz. Her name was Elizabeth, but I found in other places that they called her Lizzie. Lizzie, short for Elizabeth. You know, people in the South, they love to cut your name up. They love to give you a nickname. So here was her name as Lizzie. And Lewis, her name is Lewis, but now we see Clark on the end of her name. I'm going to get back to that later, because sometimes when you look at the census records, the information or the spelling of the name is not the same. You have to investigate all of your documents to see whether or not it fits into your family. So if you see something that looks like it might match, you pull it out and put it to the side, and you can leave it for investigation. So Lizzie Lewis Clark, it says she was female, she was a Negro at that time. And then prior to this was in 1917. Prior to that, they had them as mulatto, they had them as Native Americans, but in the state of Virginia, they changed everyone in the state of Virginia to be either black or white. They took away mulatto or Native American. So, and I'll give you that information as we go on to this research. So here we have when she was born, said she was 80 when she passed. But the interesting thing here is that it says who her mother and father was. So I didn't know who her mother and father was. But when I received this death certificate, then I was able to go back another generation because it has here what her father's name was and what her mother's name was. And it says who the informant was. The informant was her son. Whenever someone dies, you have to put the informant gives the information. Sometimes the information is not correct depending on who the informant is. But I can guess pretty much that if her informant was her son, then this had to be correct. He listed, and that meant that he was listing his his grandparents' name was here. So this is how I read it. The other thing is on this side here, it says where they were buried. Very important. I said before about where they're buried. So I knew that they were buried in a Native American village. They were met, and I couldn't find this village anywhere in Virginia. So it says Mahanam, Virginia. I went to Richmond. They had no Mahanam. I guess that's like let's see, if you're from Brooklyn and if you were from I don't know what's those streets now, because every now they change them to Marcus Garvey, or they change them to Malcolm X Boulevard, or they change the names. And if you weren't from the old days, you wouldn't know what that street was. Stuyvesant Avenue. Stuyvesant Avenue, I think, changed to something else. And those streets. And same thing in Harlem. I remember once somebody was saying they were calling Malcolm X Boulevard. They were calling it by 7th Avenue, whatever it was, and Malcolm X's daughter was there, and she told my friend, "Don't you dare not use my father's name to describe the street. Don't ever say 7th Avenue again. You say Malcolm X Boulevard." So that's how those names get lost. So, but don't fear, because I really did find this. It took me 25 years to find this Mahanam, Virginia, which was where my great grandmother was buried, and I'm gonna share that with you. I don't know if I'm gonna share it in this session, but maybe the next session. Okay, so here how we comparing the family Bible again to official birth certificate. So Wyndham, we talked about him writing for his mother's for her death certificate. Here is his birth certificate that he was born in June 1876. And here he is in the Bible, Wyndham, name spelled differently, but Wyndham, born June 28th, 1876 over here. So here it is, June 1876. And it says who his mother's name was, Elizabeth Lewis, and here she is over here, and his father was Richard Lewis. So if you're able to find a birth certificate of your parent or your grandparent, but you don't know who their mother and father is, you can try and get a birth certificate and then see the names that are on there. That will take you back another generation, because your goal is to get back as far as you can in your family history. And these are the tools that I'm giving you that you can start to get back another generation if you weren't able to fill your sheet out. Because this is my great grandfather. That Wyndham Lewis is my great grandfather, and they were using the name Lewis when he was born. Everybody was using Lewis. But the reason why they were using Lewis is because they that was in the Bible. And the cohabitating registry after the Civil War, in every state they were to put together a cohabitating register. And this one was for Washington County, where my people come from. And I just found this like in year 2000 that I found this document. I went to the Library of Virginia because someone had shared with me that they had found this cohabitating record in the county clerk's office underneath some files, dirty, and that they didn't know how long it had been there, but it wasn't important to them. So when they pulled it out and realized this was a cohabitating registry of Black people, then they sent it to Richmond for them to digitize it. So you may be looking if you don't know who the slave holder was of your ancestors, this document from 1866 might give you that information. So I found Richard Lewis, but his name Lewis spelled different than the Lewis, is Louis. And in Virginia, in Washington County, he was a farmer. And it says this here, you don't see the top of it because it was on, this is the second page. His slave holder was William Clark. Now, the oral history was his slave holder was his father. And so, therefore, that is the reason why Wyndham changed the last name from Lewis to Clark, because he realized who the slave holder's name was, Clark. And then across the line, he's saying who he was married to. He is Lizzie again. They have Lizzie as Lizey. And the Selden, I showed you Seldon on the death certificate, but here it is. You have to, like, again, investigate that. They just didn't spell it properly. And then she was Washington County, and she was also owned by the Clark, William Clark. And then here they list the children. So I showed you the children that was in the Bible, and they had the names Florence, Elsie, and here they got married in 1856. So that really puts you back. It gives you the slaveholder. It tells you when they got married or when they jumped the broom. And so then you can put that down on your chart that your great-great-grandparents, they got married in 1856 and their children. So while I was at the Library of Virginia, I got so excited about finding this. It's like, being at a machine where you go to what am I trying to think? The pinball machine, when you go for a jackpot, when you're doing a slot machine. So when you find something, you start screaming and getting all excited. And while I'm getting excited, the librarian went and pulled the will of William Clark, the slave holder. Now, I would have never thought to do that, but the librarian could help me. And as I started to read this, my great grandfather is listed in here, and he lists him under item number 2. He says that he wills that his Negro man, Dick, because Richard, Dick is used as a short name for Richard, remain with his wife and his daughter and work for them as long as they get along with one another. Now, I never heard of a slaveholder making sure that the slave gets along with the wife, and it really would be his half sister. But in the event that they didn't get along, and if they had any difficulty between him, he wished that the executor would take Dick into his possession and hire him out privately until such time that Dick can find a purchaser for himself of what he desires, and he should sell him at a low price, say 2/3 of what the value of what they would value in a slave at this time. This is in 1859 is when he wrote this will. So I wondered, why did he stay as a slave, since why did he leave? And it didn't say that he gave him his freedom. He just told him to pick somebody else to be with. Because in the state of Virginia, if a slave was free, he could only stay in Virginia for 1 year, 12 months, and then he would have to leave. That means leave his family or his wife, his children, his entire family, because they worry that the other slave would try to escape. So a lot of times they didn't leave, they stayed with the family. So here's the 1870 census, and here's Lizzie Lewis, that I had pulled her up. Again, it's in 1870, said her year of birth, 1836. So your census records are going to give you a lot of information as well. Sometimes, like I was telling you before, when you list the siblings in the family, like the father and the mother, and then you have the siblings. So here, Richard, they've spelt his name, differently for Richard, and they have him 36. Usually they would have him as head of household. And here's Lizzie Lewis here. Here's George, the same names, Francis, Alice, Florence, and Anna, and so forth. So use your census records to get your early documentation. You have to really start with yourself and go backwards. You might be able to go from we're up to the 1850 census. So you're going to 1850, 1840, 1950, 1940, 1930s, 20s, 10, 1900, and then you're going to go into up to 1870. And so you can have a paper trail that's going to take you from one generation to the other, or from one 10-year period to the next 10-year period. And this was just a letter. I'm not going to go through that because my time is getting away from me. I'm not going to go through that because it's just that when you have a conflict within the family, one person will say, well, this is how it went down, and another one say, no. This cousin was saying to my mother that I wasn't going to find anything on Richard Clark. She don't understand why my great grandfather changed all their names to Clark, from Lewis to Clark. But he changed it, as I realized later from the cohabitating record, he changed it because he realized that the name Lewis was the slave name, because his mother was a slave, she was a native lady. And so they changed he changed the name for the family to Clark. So, just keep your documentation, because sometimes you have to prove it. And then I jumped from, it was the 1870s, this is the 1880s, as we start to move forward. They get 10 years older, the more children are added. Here's Wyndham, the one who did the death certificate for his mother. And then I want to talk about, your research calendar. I gave that to you. So as you start doing your research between now and next month when we come back together, everyone that you call, I want you to document who you call, what you spoke about, what did you find out from your research, whether or not you went to the library, whether you used Ancestry, first of all, Ancestry, you can use Ancestry free at the library if you don't want to get a subscription, but Family Search, you can do it for free. And here's a correspondent record. So for me, I have these that go back years. So maybe when I went to find the cohabitating records, I would have who I spoke to, that I went to the Library of Virginia, who I spoke to, what did I find? Then I went to the burial ground, who I met at the burial ground, who helped me, what did I find? And I keep a log of it, because sometimes when you start doing a lot of genealogy research, you actually lose count of who you, and if you start doing it over the years, you lose count who you call, what you got from them, because you start working on so many different branches of your tree. So this helps you to sort of keep a record of that. I encourage you to join a historical society. It will help you. I belong to the Afro-American Historical and Genealogy Society. This is their website. I belong to the New York chapter, and I belong to the New Jersey chapter. The good thing about it, since COVID, we've met virtually. And so the AUGS New York, they meet the second Saturday of every month at 1:00. And I made a mistake. Oh, no, this is not a mistake. And the AUGS New York, they have regional interest groups. So within this organization, they have a Caribbean group, they have the Carolina group, they have the Mid-Atlantic and other southern states. So while you might be doing your research, you might get stuck. You may not know of other resources that you can use to help you do your genealogy research. By being in the interest groups, especially Caribbean, they have Caribbean who are researching various islands, and you might be related to them. And the Carolinas, I researched the Carolinas because my grandfather is from North Carolina, and I also have Virginia and Tennessee. So I sit in on those groups too. They also have a writers group, which I'm a part of. I'm in the process of writing a book now, and they have a lot of information on their website. So I suggest that you go to them too. And then the New Jersey, they meet on the Saturday as well. They have great speakers, so I belong to both, and I go to both because one meets at 11 and one meets at 1. So I usually, my second Saturday in the month, I'm really booked up the whole Saturday, but it's worth it. It's very invigorating, very exciting, and people who are talking genealogy is where you want to be. And here are Roots Tech. These are my resources. I want you to, if you can, register for Roots Tech. For Salt Lake City conference. Is free virtually. It's March 2nd to the 4th. tremendous information, many speakers, and it's free. It's free. It's free. You cannot go wrong. I encourage you to do it. And then I just talked about OGS New York and New Jersey. Fold 3, that is a website, a resource that allows you to search the military. FamilySearch.org. I'm suggesting that you make a tree from FamilySearch.org. They are connected to Roots Tech, which is a part of in Salt Lake City, the Church of Latter-day Saints. You can even go to the Church of Latter-day Saints office, the one on Manhattan on 66th Street. They will help you do your tree. Ancestry.com. Of course, you see it on television all the time. It does cost. You can go to the library, at any library that has a genealogy room. The one on 42nd Street does. So you can go there and use it for free. Join a historical society. If your people are from certain parts of the country or the islands, then if they have a historical society, that's where you want to join, because they have a wealth of information. When I write up my things about my family, I leave the information in the historical society in case somebody's looking for that family or looking for information that you have. Daughters of the American Revolution, we mentioned that I'm a member. I have, I'm running out of time. Daughters of the American Revolution, they have a fabulous library. Alex Haley did all of his research in the Daughters of the American Revolution library in Washington, D.C. is phenomenal. Genealogy library, I just mentioned that, and the National Archives and Records Administration in Washington, D.C. You can research the Caribbean and all of the United States. Look at some of the genealogy Facebook groups, and YouTube has a lot on genealogy. Okay, so our next steps, we're going to verify the information and complete your ancestral chart that we started. You're going to fill in your family group sheets, as many as you choose to. You want to interview your oldest living relative and ask about their grandparents. You're going to always ask them about the oldest person that they can remember, because once they're gone, they're gone. The thing about genealogy, a lot of people don't start doing genealogy until they get to be 50, 60, 70, and all your grandparents, great-grandparents, they're gone, and you can't ask these questions. So explore the National Archives, set up a free Family Search account, and sign up for the free Roots Tech. And I look forward to seeing you in March. How'd I do?
You did wonderful. Wonderful, Ruth. Thank you. It's so much information. It's so fascinating. We want to thank you for this.
I have any questions?
We have 5 minutes. Does anyone have a question? If you raise your hand, I can I'll unmute everyone so that.
We have one question.
Okay.
Um,
Unmute yourself. Go ahead.
would all of the southern states have this cohabitating register after the Civil War?
Most of them have it. A lot of folks got rid of them because they don't want you to trace back who is the enslaver. So in Halifax, Virginia, where my people are from, as I understand it, someone there, a Caucasian, they have the records, but it's not in the public domain, where it's supposed to be in the public domain, so I can't get it. But you just have to go to the libraries will normally have that information. Or you could Google it and see if it comes up, cohabitating records for, what state are you looking at? What state are you asking about?
Can the person that asked the question please respond to Ms. Hunt?
I see Ms. Davis wrote South Carolina.
I think South Carolina may have. I just found out North Carolina has it, but they didn't have it for the town I'm looking for. So it all depends on if they wanted to make that available, because they know that paper, that cohabitating record, is going to tell you who the slaveholder is.
Okay.
Some people are kind of afraid right now about all of this information that's become available. They're afraid about the reparations.
Isn't that? I'm going to leave that right there for a second.
Leave that right there. But you know what I'm saying.
Yes, we're going to leave that right there. I will say this. Everyone is loving the session. I do want to talk about, I need to create a link for the March 16th. If you signed up for this session, we are going to be just emailing the folks that signed up for this session on how to sign up for the second and third session. We weren't able to get the link out in time, but you will all receive an email with the link for the subsequent sessions, as well as any information. Please also note that you can send us a note, the African American and Caribbean American Inclusion Group, if you have any questions for Ruth, if you're running into anything, because the next session, am I right, Ruth, is going to be really interactive?
Yeah, well, yes, as much as we can, because I want you to come back and tell me what you've uncovered, where you stuck, what problem are you having, so that I can see how I can. And then if you go on Roots Tech, I want, you're going to come back. The good thing about Roots Tech, let me just say this, that if you register for them, they keep everything up for one whole year, so you can go back and still check on or go to a session that you might have missed within those 3 days. You'll have an opportunity to go back and look, so we can talk about that.
Right. I do want to let everyone know that we are looking to have some, maybe pick a couple of you that have been able to really dig deeper. And that would entail you meeting with Ruth ahead of the last session so that some of you present what you were able to uncover. So everyone has homework. Please make sure you do your homework. And Dion and I'm Christy Davis at nychac.org. And Dion, you are?
It's in the chat. There was actually one more question that was answered. I'm hoping we can fit it in. The question was, what resources are there for people from the Caribbean whose ancestors were from countries in South America and possibly Europe?
Well, Ancestry, you can go on to Ancestry for sure, and Family Search as well. I mean, Ancestry has international. Maybe you go to the library for that, because I don't use internationally. That's not. I just really research in here in the States. So Ancestry has international. It costs more for that subscription, or you go to the library with it, you can use theirs. And Family Search also has international. So it's just a matter of, you going into the website and start doing your research. And again, if you have a problem, then you need to go to, and I gave you the Caribbean library. Of course, they have information going back and forth from Britain to the Caribbean. So I would reach out to them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to say that I see that Alberta Morgan, and I think she summed it up perfectly, as she said, great information. And also, thank you for reminding us of no matter where we're born, we are one. So thank you, Ruth D Hunt. I'm going to, if you have any other questions, I also want to take the time out to invite anyone who's with Health and Hospitals. The African American, Caribbean American Inclusion Group meets on the fourth Friday of every month. Please reach out to us if you'd like to join us. We meet every month, once a month, and we would love to have everyone come as their calendars permit. But it's in the afternoon on the last Friday of every month. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Hunt.
Thank you so much.
We love it. And we want everyone to have a great rest of the day. And we'll see you all again at the second session, which is March 16th. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hunt.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt.
You're so welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt.
It's so, I feel like I'm back at HAC again.
Ah,
I love being there. Thank you for coming. Can we save the chat so I can?
Yes, I will
Okay,
do that. Well,
thank you.
it's being recorded also, but I'll do a capture as
Great.
well.
Oh, that's
yeah.
great.
We're gonna wait until everyone logs off, and just wanted to give you some
Some feedback. Okay,
yeah, some feedback. Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Can everyone else log off? Thank you.
They're coming.
I mean, there's a couple of folks. Sometimes people, I'm going to expel.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me just get. Sometimes people forget to log off.
Yeah.
That last person is my friend, William. Goodbye.
Okay, so as we see, we only had 41 participants compared to
Oh,
100 people that signed up. So we'll let the 100, the folks will send out reminders. But I thought that was really interesting that only 41 people logged on.
But that's what
yeah.
I was telling you. People register, but you're gonna have a fall off.
That's
'Cause
true.
especially in the hospital, I know for me, today has been crazy. It was like
Uh-huh.
because they knew I had something to do at 12, everything happened. So I had to
Right.
like my heart was racing. It was crazy. So
Mhm.
anything could happen. And I kind of
Right.
said it to myself. So with
Right.
that, I was thinking that perhaps what we should do is instead of limiting it to just 20, I mean 100, make it like 125 or something to that effect. So that it
Mhm.
gives people additional time to log in, and
Mhm.
maybe we could say we have 20 more spaces for people to attend the workshop, because even
Right.
if people register, they're not, there's always going to be a short off, a fall off.
Right, because they did a number of reminders, and so I will do that.
I would do 150 because usually when you have a party and then you send out for a party and you say you're gonna have 100 people and you're only gonna get maybe 50. You don't get like you said, a fall. So maybe you need to put it at 150 and see if you get.
Okay, I'll do that.
But I don't know if you invited more people for the next session, or we'll be at more advanced. But
Well, I think what we should say is we'll have to have a disclaimer that there were, we'll know who came for the first session.
yes.
We'll have to say, because I think as each registration goes out, we will send out, if we get an additional set of folks, Dion, you and I can figure out how we can send them the documents, but we will have to put that disclaimer, that you're signing up,
It's just sending. Like I sent it to them last night. I just did a blind copy and sent it to the people.
right. Well, so I just think that I don't want us to go backwards, and I don't want you to go slower. The folks, because
Right.
that's not fair to the people who came
Okay.
today.
Thing is
So,
that the people did get they got the handouts.
mhm,
So if they thought they could keep up, and if they fill out their own handouts on their own,
right, right,
then
It's
if
also
they,
recorded. They can see it. They can watch the
okay,
recording.
right.
okay,
Well, I don't know, but now, yeah, we might, because the recording's gonna come to me, so we could send that link out.
We should ask Savisa,
Okay.
because by okay, this is just Dion talking. But it's the recording off.
Oh,
because
sorry.
I don't. It's still recording. I don't
Yes,
usually
stop.
send my